Okay, so this is part two, or the next part of our example today, which is B and C. So to solve B, I'm going to, again, solve by factoring. And what I'm going to do, though, is I need to set it equal to 0. So I can't have 6n squared equals 15n. I need to bring the 15n over here to this other side. So I'm going to subtract 15n from both sides. So this becomes 6n squared minus 15n equals 0. Now, once it equals 0, now I can go ahead and factor out the greatest common factor of these two pieces right here, which on this one is going to be 3n. And then again, think it's like reverse distributive property. So 3n times blank is going to give you 6n squared. So to do that, you're going to have 2n, because 3 times 2 is 6, and n times n is n squared. Then I'm going to keep minus, and I'm going to say 3n times what gives me 15n? Well, that's going to be 5, and then it's going to equal 0. So from there, I'm going to set up my two equations. So I have 3n equals 0, and I have 2n minus 5 equals 0. And so, again, this one, 3 times what is 0? Well, that has to be 0. And then on here, I'm going to go ahead and solve this by adding 5 to both sides. I get 2n equals 5. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I can either write 5 over 2, or if I want to change it, I can say that it is 2.5. And so my two answers here are going to be n equals 0 and 5 halves. All right, on my next one, it already has 0 equals over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and factor these two right here. I'm going to pull out the greatest common factor. Well, the greatest common factor on this one is just a. There's no other numbers to pull out. So I'm going to pull out the a. And what is left here then is a, because, again, a times a is going to be a squared. I'm going to go ahead and keep my plus sign right here. And then 5a, what do I need to multiply this? I just need to multiply it by a 5. Equals 0. And so then, again, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, well, a, that's all that can be is 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up the next one. So a plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, so a would equal negative 5. So again, my two answers on this one would be a equals 0 and negative 5. All right, I think I have room to go ahead and do letter D. So I'm going to go ahead and do letter D. Letter D is 3s squared minus 9s equals, again, it equals 0. First step, make sure it equals 0. Now I'm going to factor out the largest or greatest common factor between these two. So this time I'm going to pull out a 3s. And again, I'm going to decide 3s times what gives me 3s squared. I'll multiply that by an s, because s times s would be s squared, minus 3s times what is going to give me 9s. Well, if we do that, that's going to be a 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, and then I have that, equals 0. So again, hopefully at this point you say, okay, well, 0 times 3 would be 0. So I'm going to say s can be 0. And then here I'm going to say s minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to add 3 to both sides so that s equals 3. And then I'm going to say, okay, s equals 0 and 3.